Good morning, everybody that joined so far. 2 more seconds. Let me grab my coffee. And I will be showing you my finished shark puppet and starting to work on the rounder nose puppets today. Alright, so I know I'm a little bit later than usual. Alrighty, so now you should be able to hear me. Now you guys can all see me. Alright, so I just want to let you know that since a few of you were interested, I'm taking the live videos that I do through TikTok and I am uploading them to YouTube as like a podcast. So if you want to go back through the live videos and any of the tips and the tricks or any of the information that you might have missed or that you wanted to watch over again, you would be able to go to YouTube, and it's Nifty Knots with a Z, all one word, Nifty Knots Talk, T-O-K. So that's, I'm uploading all my shorts too, just in case. But Nifty Knots Talk is what I have listed as the podcast, and it will be all of my previous lives. It seems to take forever to upload them, so if I can get 2 of them a day, I think I have 2 weeks worth so far of lives that I've done, and I think I only have maybe 3 or 4 of them uploaded by today. And yeah, so the first couple ones we were working on cows, and I was showing you basic amigurumi bodies and how like your amigurumi is just one basic piece, and then you can take that one basic piece and it's all up to the accessories that you add to it to make it different things. Same body, only this one's made out of blanket yarn, and I added ears and horns and a nose. This one is same body, and I just added the nose, I embroidered the mouthpiece, and added ears. This basic body is on my website. If you go to my link tree in my bio, there's a link directly to this pattern, and I do now have the pattern pieces that you can click on from that basic pattern to do the pieces for the ears and the horns and the cow. And I do also have the pattern for the bunny ears linked there as well. So you have the basic body, and then you have pattern pieces to make at least 2 animals so far. And I think I did say I was going to do giraffes today, but I never got around to that yesterday. I tried to get my website updated with those pattern pieces and start getting my lives uploaded to YouTube so you can watch them as a podcast if you want to watch them later, and or rewatch the live, you can go do that. The past couple days we were working on shark puppets, and I have this is the pattern, and the same way with the puppets as the amigurumi is, it's all basically just, it starts with one piece and then it's all about what you add to it. So this is my basic puppet. of course without the pieces, but it's just a basic pointed nose. I know the mouth looks too small. Puppet, but when you hold him in your hands, he looks right. And there's his fin, there's the little side fins, his little eyes, he has three-dimensional teeth. So I'm going to work on trying to get my basic puppet patterns on there as well as my basic body pattern. Because once you have this, I mean, it's all about how creative you want to be with your stitches. I mean, to be honest, crocheting is just, if you've been crocheting for a while, you know, it's yarn. You can yarn over and pull that hook through, and you can hold your string, and you can hold your hook, and you can do a chain stitch or a single crochet. You can pretty much put those stitches together to do just about anything. So when you look at these elaborate patterns, it's really just different combinations of inserting your hook, yarning over, and pulling through. Just like if you do a single crochet, it's, you know, yarn over, you pull through two, you pull through two. A half double crochet, yarn over, you pull through three. You know, it's just a different combination of the same thing. So once you learn to hold your hook and your tension and do that, it's just basically practice and counting, because it's all pretty much the same thing. But yeah, so shark puppets, and I didn't flip this one in and out, but I do the safety eyes for my puppets the same way I did my safety eyes for my dolls. This is the wrong side of the fabric. So I took my safety eyes and I use, I don't know what I did with my piece of Pellon. I use a little piece of Pellon, which is like a stiff interfacing, and it's not fusible. It's just it's 926 is the number of the Pellon that I use, and then I just cut and poke a hole in it so that I can then put my eyes through that. I once I put my washer on, I burn down the top of my safety eyes, and then I glue around this Pellon so that when you flip it inside out, and these puppets are pretty adorable. I do them, I'll tell you why. So if you flip it inside out, you see the eyes are on there. The Pellon's underneath and you don't see it. However, it's glued also, so you can't push them through and you can't pull them out. And I do use permanent fabric glue. So this is like my favorite thing. My Fabric Fusion Aleene's, and it does say, I mean, you can use whatever you want, but it has to say permanent, I know it's backwards, fabric glue, adhesive, whatever, you get the point. If you use a permanent, it will stay in there. And again, that one has three-dimensional teeth. We did short rows yesterday to show you how I curved the fin. And the little fins were really easy. They were just like 2 rows. But thank you everybody for joining. Boy, I really appreciate it. So yeah, I got 2 shark puppets done yesterday. Most of the things that I do are little tails. Most of the things I do for an event that my dad and I do together in the like midsummer, beginning of August. He does watercolors. I do this. I started on a third. I think I'll get a third one out of that skein. And I use for my puppets, I use just like a basic acrylic yarn. I know a lot of people don't like to use acrylic, but I have 5 kids. 4 of them were boys. They weren't very easy on things. You never knew where things were, and things would, you know, I wanted to make things that would last. So when I made things for them, I made them to last. So I used the acrylic yarn, which will last. I find the cotton, yes, the cotton will last, but the fibers tend to wear down a little bit, and it tends to fade like no matter how you wash it, the colors don't stay quite as vibrant. They tend to fade. So I like just the less expensive. Red Heart's a good example. Walmart brand's a good example. I love this yarn. What else is there? I know Joann's makes one too, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. But so, yeah, when I make my toys and my puppets, I would typically make them out of acrylic so that this puppet can actually just be thrown in the washer and dryer, and you could throw it in the washer and dryer with a load of towels. It's not going to pill, and it's not, still going to come out, and it's going to look like a decent puppet. It will soften up. The Red Heart and the acrylic yarns tend to be a little bit stiffer to work with, which I like because I can definitely see my detail and what I'm doing with my shapes and how I'm making my shapes and where I'm putting my pieces. So I like to work with it a little bit stiffer when I'm doing like something that's more sculpted. And then once it's washed and dried, it gets like super soft. So it's like any other yarn. It's super, super soft. I don't mind working with it. Some people say it's scratchy, but I don't really notice that much of a difference. I personally use cotton for very few things because certain things, like I have certain yarns for certain things that I use. Cotton to me is, there's not that give in it, so it's squeaky and hard to work with. I know some people say the same thing about acrylic. I say that about cotton. Anyway, so shark puppets, and that is just a basic puppet, a basic hand puppet with a pointed nose if I were going to make a shark. I have, that I brought out, I went to my whip bin because I knew I had some already made. Puppets, finished with round number 14. Okay, like I couldn't count that. This is a good example of the pointed nose. It's all about what you put on it. So this is a fox that I started, and I don't like to sew, so I tend to crochet my pieces right on. So this was, I did my mouth pieces, and then I just added the flap that I will then secure down there with some stitches, but and then I'll put some fabric glue in the center, so it's stitched and glued, and then I'll put my eyes on. But these are examples of how you can take the basic same puppet pattern that I used for the shark. And again, hopefully within the next week or so, I will get that basic puppet on there. But same basic puppet, it's just all about what you put on it. So that one was a fox that I never finished. And I think these ones are all round nose. These ones are all rounded noses. And these ones I used these ones I made, and this is the same thing. This is pretty much the same puppet, only the beginning of it is different, so that you can see that instead of them being pointed, it's rounder. So this is the basic one that I would use for, say, a cow or a goat or maybe even a dog or something like that. These ones I had started as unicorns, and it looks like I do have some pieces. I had a pink one and a blue one that I started. There's another blue one in here. I have a whole bin of just like stuff that's unfinished. I'm sure we all do. This pattern is actually this pattern, and if you like the way the colors are in this pattern is on my Ravelry. I'm not sure if it's on my Etsy. Again, if you can wait the little bit of time, I'm going to try to go through all these patterns and do them all during my lives in the mornings and show you how to do them, and then get my basic pattern pieces up there. So I would have the basic round nose puppet. I would have the basic So I was probably making a shark out of that. The basic pointed nose puppet. And then I will have subpages with the accessories like I do with my with the dolls, where the dolls have subpages for cow accessories and the bunny accessories and whatever else I make. Eventually I'm going to make a giraffe. But for some reason, giraffes just kind of flew out of my brain, and I went out to my whip-in and ended up with puppets that I knew I had half finished. So yeah, let's get to these puppets. So these ones, I crocheted these a little bit tighter. I must have used, I try to use a bigger hook. I'm going to tell you where anything is. I got a late start today. I use a 6mm hook when I do them because I tend to crochet really, really tight. So you can see the difference between me using the 6mm hook, and it's like a decent size, fits on my arm. It's, you know, it's nice. Little people can get their hands in, big people can get their hands in. It's a nice puppet for anybody. Whereas this one, I probably used a 4.5 or a 5. And you can see the difference because I crochet so tight. I still sell them. I mean, I still get a lot of people that love puppets when they come to my vendor booth. They see puppets and they're like, oh, because it's different. It's something that not a lot of people do. So the next couple podcasts, perhaps, I don't know, everything's going to be different from day to day, I'm sure. Thank you everybody that's joining me. But these, to make the unicorns, I basically just have a horn, which I would put on, and then the mane. And the manes are a little bit different. And I'll have to see if I can, I know I have more of this yarn. But the manes are a little bit different. Oh, here's this one that's finished. So I don't know, and I can go over how to do a loop stitch, but if any of you know how to do a loop stitch, to do my manes, again I like them really secured. You can see how I did my initial chain with a hole in the top of it, and I loop stitched all around, and then I will eventually take, and I'll show you how I do it today, strands and just do like lark's head knots all the way around, so there's just strands, and then you can cut this and trim it, or you can do whatever. This is kind of a picture of from my pattern. My patterns have lots of pictures. This is a picture of how I did it. If you like this particular one in these particular colors used Red Heart's Retro Stripe, and the pattern was actually written for using the stripe yarn so that you could make the pattern come out the way, with the colors the way they are, like the blues and the blues, the pinks and the pinks. Yeah, ears, horns, ears, and a mane. But this is basically how I did the mane. So to do the mane, I started off with my chain, and I looped it and joined it and came back down. And when I came back down, I used my loop stitches to come back down and around. And then if you can see there, I just took my strings and just added them. And I can add any color strings to these. I'll just show you. And it looks like I do have some ears in here, so I might actually be able to put one of these together. I don't think I have any more of this yarn. I do have some strands of this yarn, so I could probably show you how I finish off my mane. I should probably show you how I start my mane, but I would have to find a color. Okay, basic puppet. I'm making him into a unicorn. All right, decisions. Should I just find some more yarn and just go over that mane to begin with, or should I just continue on this one? Loop stitches aren't too hard. I don't personally have a tutorial on them. I have, but that's, you can find tutorials all over the place for the loop stitches. Yeah, let me grab a different skein of yarn. Actually, I think I have some of this peach, and I'll do one from the beginning, so I'll show you how I do that mane. And I do the mane like this because I will attach my horn wherever I want my horn for my unicorn, and then after I've made my complete mane, I will slide it down over top of that horn and secure it around the horn so that I have like fluffies up here in the front and then the mane down the back. And when you add the other strands, then it really, like, you don't have to worry about cutting off your ends because you're going to make strands that are about this long. And then eyes and ears, I do have some ears in here. And ears are basically, I didn't do petal for ears. These are actually in the round, just so they stuck up a little bit better. Like the shark's fins, I just, in the cow's ears were thicker yarn, so I just did like a leaf pattern to make it look like an ear. But these I actually worked in the round to make my little ears for my unicorns, where that white really glows. But if I turn off my light, you can't see anything. But again, basic pattern. Let me go grab a scrap ball, and I will go over how I make the mane for that unicorn. And again, hopefully at some point in time, I will, probably within the next couple days, I'll get the pattern for the pointy nose ones done. And once I do that, it's pretty easy because the round nose is just a little bit different. Same thing as the dolls though. It's one basic pattern and it's all about how you embellish it or what accessories you put on it to make it look like. That's where the artistic creativity comes into. It's, you know, it's not about the basic pieces. The basic pieces are just basic pieces. I mean, I've already taken these basic puppet pieces and just made them out of variegated yarn and put a couple of big googly eyes on them and some horns and sold them as like miscellaneous monsters, and like people love them. So, but let me, since I have these done for the unicorns, which is just a basic puppet, which I will see if I can get that on there within the next couple days. Let me grab a scrap ball and I will show you how I make the mane for it, because the ears and the horn is pretty basic. You start with your ring and then you just, you know, spiral down until your horn's long enough. You start with your ring and just increase until you have an ear the size that you want it. But again, in this pattern, all those instructions are there, but they're written really specific to that type of yarn so that the puppet gets that like variegated look. So it's not just a basic, I mean, you can go through there and just use basic yarn, but it is kind of written more for specifics. Let me grab a scrap ball. I'll be right back and I will show you how I do the unicorn mane. And boy, there's nothing better than opening up your scrap drawer and realizing that you still have the same color ball of yarn. This is like almost like a flamingo color. Okay, so today we're going to work on the unicorn mane for the puppet. And yes, even though these are my patterns, I do have to refer back to them because I make so many different things that I don't commit them all to memory, so I tend to write them all down. Some of them I'll actually type up and publish. Some of them I just have in my, they look like this. I do have my basic brown nose puppet written in one of those with all the variations that I used for my different puppets, but I spent about an hour looking for that notebook. I think it's in one of my bins outside the garage. So maybe, since it's nice today, I'll go look for that. But today, pull this out. Today, I will work on showing you how I make that mane with those loop stitches to go around my horn so it looks like it's fuzzy and it's all one piece, so you're not pulling strands out. But I do want to show you, when I said that it's specific to that yarn, you can see in the pattern up here how I did make the pattern, write the pattern so that you would get those stripes in there with the ears the same color and the nose the same color. I think I did use a contrasting yarn. Like I used a contrasting pink for the nose and a contrasting blue for the other ones. Some of the skeins started their pull with pink, some of them started their pull with blue, so depending on what that was, that's what I've made the nose. But yeah, I will, there goes my ball of yarn. Right now I'm going to show you how to do the mane around the unicorn, and then maybe get a unicorn finished. My ball of yarn. And boy, for those of you that have been here on other days, Sir Charles must be like really tired because he went back to bed. He is not out here huffing at me today. Alright, so I've chattered long enough. So, for the mane, for my unicorn, and I always leave an extra long tail because I'm never sure which side I'm going to start sewing from, but I will start sewing. I'll just tack a few stitches. I won't like really, and then I'll put some of my permanent fabric glue to hold it on. Okay, so the mane for my unicorn, I'm going to chain 12, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and let's see, chain 12, okay. I'm going to have to use a smaller hook with this one just because I'm putting them on smaller puppets. So, and that would be way too big. So, to start my mane, chain 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm, without twisting it, I'm going to join this with a slip stitch to the first stitch. So I have a ring. And then I'm going to continue and chain another 16 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So now you would have the loop at the top, which is where I'm going to slip around the horn of my unicorn, and then you have the chain at the bottom, which is going to end up being the mane of the unicorn. Excuse me. All right, so working back up and down around and the other side, working down the chain, around the loop, and back up the other side of the chain. I'm going to do loop stitches. And loop stitches, let me think here. It's basically a single crochet, and I am going to just go into one side or the other side of the stitch. So I'm going to, if I'm going up this side, I'm just going to do, if I'm going up this side, I'm just going to do this top loop. And when I'm coming back down the other side, again, I'm only going to do the top loop, and that'll kind of leave like a row of, it'll kind of leave like a row of stitches in between, if you can see that. It leaves like a row of, like a ladder in between where I can go and loop my other strands around to make my main fuller. So loop stitches, let me think, I haven't done a loop stitch in a long time. So to do a loop stitch, you're going to grab your yarn, wait a minute, let me think here. You're going to pull it up, you're going to pull up your yarn, you're going to wrap your hook behind all of your yarn, and you're going to pull it through. This is going to be really hard for me to demonstrate. You'd think it'd be more prepared. 16. Okay, so you're going to go behind your yarn, grab your yarn, pull it down through one loop, and then you're going to grab your working yarn and pull it through two loops. This is going to be like really difficult to see here, so I do suggest that like a YouTube tutorial would be probably the best thing. So you're going to wrap it over your yarn, you're going to grab your working yarn and twist it around, you're going to pull it through the first loop, and then you're going to grab your working yarn again and pull it through both loops to complete a single crochet. So now I have two loops on there. Your loops will always, the way I do my loop stitches will always end up being on the back. So this is the front, my working side, and my loops are always going to be on the back. Let me see if I can turn this. Is that, oh, that's a little bit better. It's a little bit brighter out today. It's not quite as gloomy. Okay, so again, to do my loop stitch, I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch. I'm going to put it over top of my yarn. I'm going to grab my yarn from the other side. I'm going to pull it through once, and then I'm going to grab my working yarn again and pull it through and finish my single crochet. This is like really hard for me to do. Let me see. Not hard for me to do, but hard for me to show you. So I'm going to take my next stitch, and I'm going to insert my hook into my next stitch. I'm going to go over top of my yarn. I'm going to grab my working yarn, twist my hook and pull it through the stitch, and then I'm going to grab my working yarn again and pull it to complete the single crochet. And again, all my loops will be on the back. I'm making my loops a little bit big just because it's easier to show you. Let me see if I can get this down a little bit further so you can kind of get a better. a better idea of what I'm doing. So to do my loop stitch, I would insert my hook into the next stitch, right into the next stitch. I'm going to go over that part. I'm going to grab this and pull it, twist my hook and pull it through for the first part of the single crochet, and then I'm going to grab my working yarn from in front of my loop and pull it through to finish that single crochet, giving me the loop on the back and the single crochet on the front. And that's still not a really good angle. Let me see. You can look at all my junk here. Okay, so I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch. I'm going to go over my first strand of my working yarn, pick up and bring it over, kind of twist it and pull it through the loop, and then I'm going to again grab my working yarn and pull it through to finish my single crochet. Does any of that make sense? Can you guys actually see that? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to insert into the next stitch. Instead of grabbing this, I'm going to go over it and pull the string from behind it, make my loop, first part of my single crochet, and then I'm going to pull it through both sides. So again, you guys get to see all the junk in my junk drawer now. It's actually my crafting junk drawer, so it's full of like bobby pins and stuff. Okay, so let's see if this might be a better angle to show you. So loop stitch. You're going to go in through the next stitch. You're going to put your needle over top of this strand of the working yarn. You're going to grab the working yarn itself. You're going to pull it through the stitch. Then you're going to come back down here and pull up the working yarn again and come through and complete the single crochet. And you can drop your loop. And again, this is the side that I'm working on, and my loops will end up on the back. And I'm only going through the top one. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go through the stitch, over, grab it, pull through the first half. You can actually at this point drop the loop, but I like to hold it and keep it tighter. And then you pick up your yarn and you finish your... Can you guys see that okay? Can somebody let me know if you can see that okay? Because I know I'm trying to do it backwards, but you would insert into the next one. You would go over it, grab your working yarn, pull it back around and twist through that stitch. Pick up your yarn and complete your single crochet. Again, there are tons of YouTube tutorials, and I might try to put together a decent one for you guys so that you can actually see how I'm doing it. Again, yarn over, pull the back strand, take that same part of my working loop and go through that and finish the stitch, and I can drop the loop and it's there. And you can actually just pull these loops tighter if you want. You can cut them and brush them out. For those of you that are just joining me, yes, I will try to get a tutorial somewhere up on YouTube or something like that of how to do this loop stitch. If not, there's tons of tutorials how to do the loop stitch. We are working on the unicorn puppets, which, like the shark puppets that I've done over the past couple days, it's just a basic puppet pattern. and it's all about what you put on it. So today I'm working on the loop stitches to do, thank you for all the likes, working on the loop stitches so that I can do my horn. And as you can see, I start with just the chain and go down, and then I come back up with my loop stitches, and then I would, from the front side, I would separate my loop stitches, and if you only work through that one, you're going to get like a ladder in the center there. And I'm actually going to take strands that are longer and hook them through those ladder pieces like you would do like a latch hook rug. And that's what's going to give me a fuller mane. So you can see the mane ends up looking, by the time you do your loop stitches and then you hook your strands up through the center of your loop stitch, through the center stitches in between your loop stitch, you end up with a really thick looking mane. And because of the loop on the top, you can just slide it right over top of the horn. You don't have to worry about, good morning, Janie. And you don't have to worry about fussing with where it's supposed to be. It just slides right over. This morning I am, because giraffes kind of flew out of my brain yesterday, so I forgot about them. I did get the pieces for the bunny and the cow on my website as well, so when you go there you can look. But this is my basic round-nosed puppet, and these ones I had in my whip bin to make unicorns. So I do have my horns, and I do have my pieces. So I'm kind of going over how I did the mane, and the mane is actually made, here's one that's mostly done. The mane is actually made so that it can be slipped over top of the horn, so that once you've secured the horn and you just put the mane over top, it lays exactly kind of where it's supposed to be. And then once you like latch hook your extra pieces down the back, it'll end up being like super, super fluffy. And then you can either just leave the straight pieces and leave the loops, or you can actually cut the loops. I don't worry about them coming out or being pulled out, because again, I put a decent amount of glue down here. I will kind of like baste it a little bit around. Sometimes with white thread I'll just baste it around, but I will, before I do that, put a decent amount of glue at the bottom so these loops won't be able to be pulled out. I made a blanket for my daughter one year that had loops on it, and we had a friend come over and she sat there and picked all the loops to the opposite side of the fabric. I was furious because it was this gigantic, it fit her entire twin bed, and the loops were the wings. So it had these like massive wings that were all loop stitches, and he sat there and pulled all this. I mean, not that you can pull them back and forth, they won't come out, but you can pull them back and forth between the right side and the wrong side of the fabric. And he sat there and he pulled every single freaking loop from those wings to the back side of the fabric, and I could have killed him, because then I had to sit there to make it look right again and pull them all to the front side. But so yeah, since I have the fabric for this, the yarn for this, and Janie, I'll show you, we were doing loop stitches. I don't know, do you know how to do a loop stitch? Loop stitches are kind of funny and finicky. It took me a second there to jog my brain, but I'll show you again the loop stitches. So to do the loop stitch, I go in through my next stitch. Why did this, there it goes. Okay, so to do the loop stitch, I go in through my next stitch, and instead of grabbing my yarn, I go over my yarn and grab from behind, and I twist and pull it through the stitch. So I still have the loop on my hand, and then I pick up my working yarn and I go through again to complete the single crochet. So then your loop ends up on the back and your single crochet ends up on the front. So I'll do it one more time. Through my stitch, over my yarn, grab my working yarn, pull it through the stitch, grab my working yarn again, and pull it through both loops to complete the single crochet, and then drop my loop. And to do this, I start with a chain, I slip stitched it, and then I made a longer chain, and then I'll just work back up and around and back down with all my loop stitches. So I'll have all my loop stitches on one side. You can see where that's the right side of the work, and all my loop stitches are on the back side of the work. So then from the back side of the work, since I have pieces cut, at least I think I have pieces cut. It might be easier for me to put this here and show you. So once I have this part of the mane done, I'm going to take my pieces, my strands, and I'm going to latch hook them. And I use longer ones because you can always trim them. So I will kind of, if you pull this apart after you've done your loop stitches, I only work through the one loop of my, so it kind of gives me, it gives you kind of like a ladder look in between if you pull it. Whereas if you work through both loops, you wouldn't get that ladder look. You would get just like holes. Like the single crochets would just create the holes. So make sure when you're doing this, you just want to work through, when you're working up and down your chain stitch to do your loop stitches, you only want to work on or through this top chain here when you're working this side, and when you work down the other side, you just want to do this top chain here, and you kind of want to leave that middle chain or that middle strand in the middle of the chain, you kind of want to leave that there. So you're just working through the top stitch. But then I would take, after I have this piece done, I am going to insert my hook around one of those ladders. You can see that. So I have my on there, and it's just like a latch hook. You could probably actually use a latch hook. It would probably make it a lot easier. But then I probably make it a lot easier because I think I just split that yarn. So you would take it and just, again, you would put it through there. So your loop's on there. You pick up one of those ladder pieces. And then you take this and you just wrap it around, and you're going to pull it through the base piece and through the loop that was on your, well, that didn't work out. It doesn't matter. You could actually go up and down there and just tie knots, and that would be fine too. Let me try a different one. I did say I was tired this morning. Thank you for everybody that's joining me. So again, I'm going to do like a latch hook all the way up the center, and I think I'm going to use 2 strands. So I am going to use a bigger hook so I can get 2 strands around there, just to make it a little bit fuller. So I'll take my 2 strands, fold them in half, put my hook there. Then I'm going to insert my hook into and up in the center of where my loop stitches are. And then I'm going to take all of this right here, and holding, I'm going to pull it through the stitch. It's kind of finicky to do this way. but I want you to be able to see it. You're going to pull it through the stitch, and then pull the loop that was on the hook. Here, I think I got it. And once you've done that, you can then pull it up, and it kind of makes a knot. And then you have like 4 strands there. So as you work your way up, oh, I totally did that on the wrong side. Some days I should just stay in bed. All right. So we're going to take it on the side that the loops are on. And I'm going to take my 2 more strands. I can just cut those off, it's not going to matter. Take my 2 strands. I'm going to put them around my hook first. I'm going to come in between my loop stitches, and I'm going to pick up one of these from in between my loop stitches. If you twist it, it's a little bit easier sometimes, because then I'm going to hold my loop. I'm going to pull all 4 strands through my stitch and through the loop that was on my hook, and then I'm going to pull them through, and I'm going to pull it down tight, and it gives you, it's called a lark's head knot, but it's the same, it's basically the same principle as doing latch hook. So if you wanted to, you could just grab a latch hook and do that all the way up there. But I do that, and I take that, and I do that all the way up. And when I'm done, I kind of hold it to where you can see the loops. And I kind of trim it a little bit. I usually do most, I'll trim that just so I can see what I'm doing. I usually wait to do all my trimming until I have it on my horn, which I would already have secured to the top of my head. And then I would just take it and trim it so that it ended up starting to look, you can see how it starts to look like a mane that's filled in and not just the loop stitches on the side. And then I would trim them to however long I want, like these ones down here a little bit longer. I might take them and trim them off just a little bit more. But again, it's just a basic puppet, and it's all about how you put the pieces on. And then my little ears, what I would put on the side, he starts to look like a unicorn. I will actually do that lark's head, that looping. I would do that all the way up, and all the way around to give it a nice, like, shaggy look. But I have to cut some more, so let's, if you guys want to sit here and watch me, I'll sit here and cut some more, and finish putting my stitches on there. So again, I'm going to wrap it, I'm going to make a loop with my strands. I'm going to go on the side where you see the loops that are up. I'm going to go pretty much down where and come up with that ladder. And then I'm going to take my strands and I'm going to pull them through. I'm not doing a very good job with anything this morning. I'm going to take my strands, I'm going to pull them through the stitch, and then I'm going to pull them through the loop on my hook. You know, you ever have those days where you should have just like stayed in bed? So I'm going to loop it up like that, and it's going to make a knot like it would not latch hook rug, which is basically what I'm doing. And it will stand up a little bit, and it will just make my mane a little bit different, or a little bit fuller. I'll take another strand. Sorry about that, guys. This one's... It doesn't matter because you're going to trim these up anyway. So I'm going to take another 2 strands, put my hook. I'm going to go right above where I did the last knot, and I'm going to just push my hook up through there. Then I'm going to take my 2 ends, and I'm going to pull my 2 ends through the stitch. I'm trying to keep that loop back there. Pull my 2 ends through the stitch, and then I'm going to pull my 2 ends through the loop that's on my hook. I'm going to pull my tails out. Oh, that one much smoother. Tighten them down, and my mane is growing. It's looking more like a mane. Again, I wait till I put the horn on and I have the whole mane done, and then I trim it up. And you can either leave these loopy things, or you can cut these to make the strands. You can also brush it if you wanted it to be fuzzy. I have a piece that I brushed. I don't usually brush my pieces because I don't know. Some people like to brush them and make them look fuzzy. I don't like that. Sometimes I like that. Whoops, I'm losing everything. Losing everything this morning. Sorry. Alright, so again, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go into the next stitch above the knot that I just made, in between my loop stitches. And I'm going to pull all through 4 strands through that latter part and through the loop, so it makes like a lark's head knot. You can see that a little bit better. So I pulled my strands through and then through the loop, and then I just tighten that loop, and that makes the next row of from the mane for my unicorn. The horn, I probably just used white thread to stitch my horn on. I don't know what to do today. Today is just, my brain's in a fog today. I have too much on it. I'm trying to get my videos uploaded to YouTube just in case. Oh yeah, Janie, that's what I wanted to let you know. I am, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the joins. Thank you for the likes. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to do it and show it and read everything at the same time. But Janie, if you're still here, I have started to upload all of my lives to YouTube under like a podcast that I called Nifty Knots Talk. So Nifty Knots with a Z is one word, and then Talk, T-O-K. But if you just look for Nifty Knots on YouTube, you should be able to find me. Let me try it this way. Let me try if I put the hook through first. Put the hook through first. I'll grab my pieces and pull them through. This works much better. Like I said, my brain gets foggy, and then I pull them through. There it is. and that worked so much better. One of these days. You tell me when you get to my age. Things kind of go to crap for a couple years, and then they start to come back. Like, I'm really waiting for them to start to come back. And if you guys out there that are my age, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take my other strands, and since it worked better this way, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to insert my hook into the next, above where I did that knot, right in between my loop stitches, and then I'm going to take my strands that I just cut. I'm going to pull them down through there. It's a little bit tight. Now I probably could use a smaller needle. Let me try. Hook, needle, hook. So, okay, so back on the screen. Above where I have this one, I'm going to put it into this one. I'm going to grab my extra strings and I'm going to pull them down through there. Oh, so much better. Pull them down through there, grab the tails of the strings and pull them up, and then pull them tight. You see I'm working my way up. And I will work my way up and work my way all the way around, and then I'll stitch my horn to my head, and then thank you for the likes. I'll stitch my horn to my head. That's how I feel this morning. And I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it this way. Going above the last knot that I just did. I'm going to insert my hook through the center there like that. I'm going to take my loops. I'm going to pull them through what I just picked up. And then I'm going to grab the ends of them and pull them through the loop that I just pulled up. I'm going to pull them tight. As you see, I'm getting there. I'm almost to the very top. This is the knot where I just started it, where I started my chain to begin with. And I left it there. You don't have to cut it because nobody's going to ever see the difference. You don't have to weave it in. You don't do anything with it. You just kind of leave it sit there. Let me do the rest of these. Janie, if you're still there, I wanted to show you, I finished my sharks. With my three-dimensional teeth. I got all them put together, and I did put the eyes on the same way I had been putting the eyes on with the Pallon. These are little teeny tiny safety eyes. With the Pallon, so that you can't pull the eyes out. You can't pull the eye, you push the eyes in, because then I would then glue the Pallon on the inside of my, on the inside, I glue the Pallon. And I know I said I was going to work on giraffes today, but I don't know why they just escaped my brain. I do have yellow. I am going to do a giraffe tomorrow. I do have the pattern pieces on my website for the cow, for the horns and the snout. The horns and the snout and the ears. The basic doll pattern that I have is also on my website. It's free. My website's not a blog site. I usually just use it for portfolio, basically. But I do have a page on there that has shout outs to some of the designers shout outs to some of the designers whose patterns I've used that I've really liked. I have pictures of my finished pieces and links to their websites. I do have like a gallery page that has stuff that I've made in the past and given away or sold at vendor events. And then I have the links there to my patterns, the free ones that I have that I'm just going to start uploading. There's also links to my shop site, but I mean, you guys aren't here to shop. You guys are here to learn how to do what I do so that you don't have to shop my shop, which is fine. I love sharing it. So you can see I made it all the way up to the top loop, and now I will just start going around here and just kind of picking up a stitch where I can to put but you can see how fluffy that mane gets. Let me take this stitch out so it doesn't look so. This is the one I did on the back because I was starting. It was wrong. It was wrong in the wrong place. So if I take these two out, you can see exactly what I did. So that's how it looks underneath, and that's where I would put my glue. I would just put my glue like right down the center and then just kind of baste along the edges around my puppet. And then this is the side with the mane where you can either cut the loops off on the side or you can just leave the mane long like that. So yeah, I'll work my way up, and then once I get it all done, I'll stitch my horn on and the loop so it slides right around the horn, so I don't have to worry about trying to actually get in there and stitch around it. It just fits right there, right on top of the horn. My horn, I made my horn with sparkles. I don't know if you can tell. No, not really. But it's a different white and it's sparkly. But so then I would, to put my pieces together, again, I would put my hand in the puppet and I would see where exactly I wanted my horn to be, and that would look good to me, like almost right on the top there, maybe right to the front. And then after I did that, I would then take my completed mane. After I secured my horn, I would take my completed mane and I would just slide it down over top of the horn. So it kind of gives him like little shaggy bangs, and then a nice mane that goes down the back. And then, let me find a pin here for a second, so I can just kind of pin it and show you. Yeah, I know it's a bobby pin. It's still a pin to me. So once you had it secured and you put it on, you could see your horn. Again, I just have it pinned, so. And then you would have your mane that you can trim. I mean, I trim all those pieces to get them to look, but so your mane actually looks neat, and he's got some like little bangs there, and I put his eyes kind of like a little bit under the bangs. Again, it's really just, I'm tired. I don't think I'm going to stay on much longer. And then my ears. It's really just a basic puppet pattern. Like the sharks are a basic pointed nose puppet. This is a basic rounded nose puppet. It's all about what you put on them. That was what I was working on. That was the part that I was doing today. If you want to wait for just the basic pattern, I don't know, probably by next week Today's Wednesday. Probably by the end of the weekend I would probably have the 2 basic puppet patterns up there. This pattern that I have published is actually specific to the Red Heart Stripes yarn, so that you get the colors, how the colors match. But if you just followed like the directions, you would end up with the basic puppet. So I'm going to try to get them on there. And again, I have on my website, my basic amigurumi doll. I do have the accessory pieces for the cow, like the ears and horns and the nose. I do have the pattern for the bunnies. And yeah, that makes me happy. Maybe I should start out like that. Just ring the bell. Not too much today, I guess. But I'll be back tomorrow. I will certainly have my brain together tomorrow, I hope. Make some notes. Start trying to keep track of what I want to do. I'll probably finish these unicorns since I pulled them out of my whip bag and they're half done to begin with. I might as well finish them. Work on my patterns so I can get them up on my website for you. Free. You can make whatever you want. You could actually take this and just make it into dolls if you want to put hair on it and like a little dress on it, or whatever you want to do with it. But most amigurumi and puppets and toys just start with a basic piece. A basic piece. And then it's all about what you put on it. There's my tag so I knew which row I was on. Just threw that one in there. I'm done with you, but here's what row I'm on. Finished with round number 14. Not that I could have counted that, but I won't. And this is the basic round puppet nose. The basic pointed puppet nose. You can see they're just... That's it. That's how they start. And then you make them into whatever you want. Well, now, that was not as entertaining as I like to be. I do apologize. Tomorrow's a new day. Thank you to everybody who joined. Thank you to everybody who liked it. Again, if you go to my link tree, I have a link there. I am attempting to get all my lives put up onto YouTube under like a podcast, Nifty Knots Talk, T-O-K. One word, T-O-K. Nifty Knots, one word. Then T-O-K. My brain's not working. So that if you ever want to go back and watch parts of the live that had different instructions in, you could do that. And I do have the link to that in my link tree as well. I also have the link to the basic puppet pattern. My website's a simple basic website. There's like no ads. There's no clickbait. It's just, there's my pattern. Have it. You can scroll through some of the past things that I've done. Most of the things that I've done are usually my own patterns. If they're not, you can usually find them on the shoutouts page, whose pattern they were if you were interested in purchasing somebody else's pattern. And yeah, you know, I just think I'm done for today. But I will definitely be back tomorrow. I'll have a little bit better of a plan. Thank you for listening to me babble for the hour or so that I did. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys all tomorrow. Thank you.